that. Okay, we are now
This meeting is being recorded.
We are being recorded. Could I get a roll call from Sue, please?
Sure. Trish.
Present.
Deborah.
Present.
Lynette.
Here.
Sandra.
Here.
Larry.
Present.
Yael. Okay, James. Jim. Stanfield, that'd be you.
He's here.
He's waiting. He just can't
I
unmute.
am asking him to unmute right now.
And Tim is not here.
Time ago.
And Jan is not here.
So do we have a quorum? Yael's not here. James is not here. Tim is not here. And
We
Jan
have
is
seven.
here.
We have seven. I believe 6 is our quorum.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Just making sure before we get started. Okay, so the announcements that I have as a chairperson is that Sarah Husky of the Tri-County Regional Energy Network has asked that we share an upcoming event. Their next regional forum is "What is the big deal about heat pumps and electrification?" It's taking place on March 30th. This is a resident-focused event. Attendees will learn how they can implement affordable energy efficiency and electrification updates for a healthier, climate-friendly home. This is on the agenda, so if you're interested, you can read on the agenda. It's also on our website. All right. I don't have any other announcements. Do any council members have announcements tonight? Okay, I don't see any hands up. So let's go to county and local agency reports. The first one would be Sergeant Ian, is it Doughty? Asked to unmute, and please help me with your last name.
Yes, it is Dowdy.
Okay, thank you.
And I apologize for missing the last one. I am recently assigned to the coast station, but I will be here for a little bit, and I'm happy to be a part of it. A little brief history on me. I am born and raised in Los Osos and live here as well. So,
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah, I've been with the sheriff's office here since 2012 and am happy to be working at the coast station. So feel free to chime in with any questions or anything. Ultimately, for our sheriff's report, our calls for service were similar to how they were last year. We had 56 calls for service during January, 1 call for assault or battery, 34 disturbances, which could be anything from parties to loud music to loud tools or anything like that. 4 reports of burglary, 10 reports of theft, 5 of vandalism, 2 mail theft, 1 phone scam, 14 suspicious circumstances, and 50 enforcement stops, which could either be traffic stops or contacts, bicycles or pedestrians, and 29 preventable patrol activity, which essentially is going to be extra patrol or vacation checks for locations. Ultimately, for January in Los Osos, for the Los Osos community, there was nothing that really stuck out, at least as far as that came up to us. I know we still are having issues with mail theft and would recommend locking mailboxes if possible for people. There weren't as many catalytic converter thefts this month. I believe in December we had quite a few. But that is still another common one that we're having. So happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the community? Okay, any questions from the community? Did I say, yeah, community? Nope. Well, thank you so much. We're so glad you're here and we appreciate you taking the time tonight.
All right, happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Captain Klingenberg from the Highway Patrol. Don't know if we saw him.
Yeah, I don't see.
I don't see him tonight. Okay, he's probably called away. Then let's go to Carrie Brown for her report.
I asked to unmute her.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Carrie.
I'd like to introduce everyone to Corey Hahn. Corey has been working with me for the last couple of years now on the Los Osos Community Plan and also the Los Osos Habitat Conservation Plan. So he's very familiar with the community. Corey's in our long range planning section. And he's also worked on the ADU ordinance and the Los Osos vacation rental ordinance. And Corey is going to be taking over the Locac liaison duties from me. So, and he's here tonight and he's going to give us a report about the Coastal Commission's recent actions on the ADU ordinance and the vacation rental ordinance.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, so just the first, just to start off, I just want to say I'm very happy to be here and, look forward to working with everyone here and serving the community. So about 2 weeks ago, you probably heard about 2 weeks ago, the Coastal Commission heard both the ADU ordinance for the coastal zone and also the Los Osos vacation rental ordinance. And they have made recommendations for to modify what we adopted, and that will be going back before the board in the coming months. And once the board, if the board takes action on those two ordinances, it'll go back to the Coastal Commission for their certification. And once it's certified, it goes into effect. And I'm available for any questions.
Any questions from the council? Okay.
I've got a question on the ADU. The recommendation was to not allow them in Los Osos. Does that also include like guest houses and granny units and stuff?
So the ordinance was, the scope of the ordinance was limited to just ADUs. So the prohibition of ADUs in Los Osos is limited to ADUs only, not guest houses. And granny units is kind of a colloquial term, but it basically means ADU. That means the same thing. Hopefully that clarifies that point.
Sue?
Sue?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I have two things, but Corey, first of all, if a granny unit is an ADU, then are you not approving granny units as well?
Well, yeah, so granny unit is not an actual term or land use in our ordinance. It's a colloquial term. People say granny unit, but really I think they mean a secondary dwelling or an ADU. So our permits would never say granny unit on it. Some people might refer to a guest house as a granny unit, but that's not really the term that should be used. An ADU is essentially a unit, a secondary unit on a property, has a kitchen, it can be rented out, versus like a guest house is more of like a detached bedroom or extension of the main house. It doesn't have a kitchen. It's really just an extension of the main house. But there's no term in our ordinances that says granny unit.
Okay, thank you. And also I wanted to thank Carrie for all your work with us and for us and all the help that you've given us all this time. It's been really great. Well, we're sorry to see you go. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
Are there any questions from the community?
I have
Oh,
a question.
Sandra?
Thanks for explaining a little bit the difference between guest house and ADU. So a permit would be required for someone to build a guest house, and it could also have a bathroom. It would be considered a guest house. But if it doesn't, if it has a kitchen, it would be considered an ADU. Is that
Yeah,
a clear distinction?
Yeah, that's a good way of seeing it. There's other distinctions as well, but that is the key distinction between a guest house and an ADU.
The kitchen, basically.
The kitchen, right? Exactly. That's the main thing.
Okay, thank you.
I see Lindy Owens has her hand up. I will ask her to unmute.
Hi, Corey, and welcome, I think. I wanted to ask, I'm having a very hard time finding permit information, and it didn't used to be nearly as difficult. But if I put an address into the permit view, I basically get this new layout that tells how far along they are in progress, what permits they are paying for, et cetera, but no information about the project per se. And then we've asked for, I don't know, some 4 years now to be able to get easier access to the ministerial permits that are issued each month. And Carrie can probably respond because we've so far had no luck. Is that at all a possibility to make the permit view usable so that we can actually see the design project and all the sheets and information that we get for normal permits, but also include the ministerials? It seems like it would be easy to just shoot them over on a list that you send to Locac each month. Thank you.
I think well, first off, if I understand correctly, I think you're referring to our CSS portal or customer service portal. Is that?
Yeah. Yes.
And that doesn't give you the information for the project, for a permit, like a permit description?
I've not been able to find anything, no matter how many times I run it through. I'll put the APN number in. No, you might want to try it yourself and see how much luck you have. But it used to be that you could actually see what the application forms were and the maps and the drawings of a potential project. So, but I think something's gotten fouled up on the website, but so it's almost to the point where we're going to have to come in physically and do over-the-counter search.
Yeah, that service should allow you to see the permit, the permit description. I can definitely look into that to see why that's not working.
Okay,
Thank
you,
And
Lindy.
we are working on, sorry, we are working on trying to get a report for Locac that would show all of the permits, both ministerial and discretionary. I've kind of submitted an IT request for this information, and they are working on it. We're getting close, and so I will share that with you. Probably be like a date range, like a monthly, kind of like with the sheriff's report is what we were kind of envisioning. But that is in the works, and I'm hoping to get that out. But I will let you know that if it's a building permit that you want to look at, it's not the same information that's going to be available on the CSS, because there are copyrighted information that we can't post. But you could always, once you have the permit number, if you did want more information, you could request additional information. So I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you. Look forward to a better site.
All right, Sue, do you still?
Yeah, thanks. Carrie, then just one quick question about what you said. Who would we ask? You said that if we wanted more information, we could request it. So if Lindy were to go on and find something she wanted to know about, she could get the numbers or whatever. Who would she call, or who would she contact for that?
She could just go to our website and submit a Public Records Act request.
I'm gonna put that link right now. I don't know if I can, actually I can't send it. I cannot send it to everybody, but I'm gonna send it to Sandra, that link for the Public Records Act request. And maybe Sandra, if you can share it with the group as appropriate.
Thanks, Corey.
Yeah, I can put it in the chat right now just so everybody has it. Let's see.
Yep, it's there. Thank you. Any other questions for Corey from the community or from the council?
I'm just curious for people that might including myself, might not know all the distinctions between ministerial, building permit, discretionary permits. Is there somewhere on the website, on the county website, where all those distinctions are laid out? So if people were to ask, we could send them there to better understand that process and what that means.
I don't think there's anything on the website that gives you like the whole definition for every single permit, but maybe at the next meeting, I can give a quick overview.
That would
of,
be wonderful.
Yeah, it shouldn't take very long. Maybe it takes like 2 minutes. I can go over like kind of the key terms and permit terminology. So I can do that at the next meeting if that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be great. And
Be nice to have it in writing.
I'll take notes.
We will have it in our minutes, so that would be great. There is a question, Corey, from Patrick McGibney, and I will unmute him.
Thank you. Corey, could you tell me the difference between a building permit and a construction permit?
They're essentially the same. They're the same thing.
Okay. And are there areas within the coastal zone that are not appealable?
Well, there
Yes.
are different criteria as to whether or not something's appealable. Do you mean if an area is just automatically appeal, where anything goes there, it's appealable, or?
Well, I'm talking about building permits or construction permits. If they are in the coastal zone, over the water basin, are there some that aren't appealable?
Yeah, there's certain areas that are in our coastal zone that's known as a coastal appealable zone, and basically, requests for construction in those areas are appealable versus the ones that are not within the area. There are other things that can trigger appealability other than that too. But I think what you're asking about is the coastal appealable zone. Is that right?
Right. So if you're over the water basin though, and you're building, let's say, a single family residence, are all of those buildings appealable to the coastal commission?
So if it's in the coastal appealable zone, then it would be appealable.
Okay.
So not all of the coastal zone is in the coastal appealable zone.
Yeah.
Okay. What makes the distinction?
We have it mapped out, but I'm not sure what the origin of it is. I might have to defer to Carrie on how that originated.
So we have like the first public road in the ocean or the bay or the shore. There's certain criteria. You're 100 feet from or 300 feet from coastal bluff. There's sensitive resource areas but that's the coastal appealable zone. We kind of talked about that. I remember at the last meeting, and not all of Los Osos is within the coastal appealable zone.
Okay. But sorry. So the Coastal Commission views all of Los Osos as ESHA. So it would seem that anything in Los Osos that is ESHA, which they consider, would be appealable if it were endangering resources, coastal resources.
Well, there's a distinction between what we consider unmapped ESHA and ESHA. So there's a conflict in our interpretation on that. We recognize that. But from a county's point of view, not all of Los Osos is appealable for that reason.
Right, but we're not appealing to the county, we'd be appealing to the Coastal Commission. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. The Coastal Commission does view Los Osos area as ESHA. And it is the coastal resource that they're protecting is our water basin. So if there's a building over our water basin that is going to be using water from that basin that could be diminishing its use or its viability, then would that not be appealable to the Coastal Commission?
Depends on where it is. If it
Yeah,
has to be in the coastal appealable zone, it's not automatically appealable to the Coastal Commission.
Okay, and so you're saying that there's certain areas over our water basin that are not in the coastal appealable zone.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much for both of you.
I'm wondering if next time when you come, if there's a map you could show us of what that coastal appealable zone is or not, or if there's a link you want to drop in the chat now, maybe that might help.
Yeah, I
We
can-
do
or
have a
include
map.
it next time.
It's not very good, but we can share a map.
Yeah.
They just don't have any streets on it, so it's sometimes hard to read. We usually have to compare it with other maps.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
Lindy, one more question and then we need to move on.
Yeah, speaking about ESHA, I just understood that with the community plan, the way the ESHA markations were set up originally has changed. And I think we were talking about the dog park and how some properties will have to mitigate and other properties won't. Is there an update on that to help us understand better, or am I wrong?
Habitat conservation plan is the tool that we're going to use to mitigate for impacts to sensitive habitat in Los Osos. Some areas are outside of the urban services line, and that's where the priority conservation area is predominantly, and that's the areas where we're going to be restoring and managing habitat and increasing the green belt.
Okay, thank you, Lindy. All right, any other questions for Corey or for Carrie? Okay, Carrie, thank you so much for all of your time and years and support that you have given us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And welcome, Corey. Look forward to working
Thank
with
you, Corey.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, next, let's talk to Supervisor Bruce Gibson. Let's get you on board.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me, before she slips off into the dark of night, let me add my thanks to Ms. Brown for her years of service to your community and to my office. Always there with an answer, and the right one, when we are scratching our heads. And Carrie, I know you formed a lot of connections with this community, and you've just done a fabulous job. So thank you from me and from Mr. Fixler. We've been beyond the community. He and I have been great beneficiaries of your work. And welcome to Corey. It's been my pleasure to work with Corey a little bit. I know he's going to do a fabulous job, and we will look forward to continuing this good work into the future. In terms of Los Osos specific news, Corey handled it. The big news being the vacation rental ordinance. One fairly small modification, changing exactly what kinds of land uses have to be buffered. It'll be only the 500-foot buffer between vacation rentals will only apply to other vacation rentals, which loosens the restrictions a little bit, but not significantly. So that one's in the bank. In terms of, well, pending the board's work probably in May or thereabouts to accept those modifications. Blake reminded me that we did approve an item to do some guardrail replacements, upgrades, basically, that's going to affect LVR and South Bay, I believe, but in the neighborhoods, you will see people working on that. Other than that, I did drop by Palisades Avenue the other day, and I did notice and have also heard that there are a couple vehicles who seem to be parked there overnight. I mean, in checking, we have been seeing the Kansas Avenue site run at full capacity, and so we don't at this point have the legal ability to enforce the no overnight camping. But I had a meeting with staff today, getting updated on where expansion of the safe parking program can occur. And we're going to be working that diligently going into the future. Blake also did remind me that there was some question about the physical address of the Kansas Avenue site. And apparently one has been established, and I see that it is 855 Oklahoma Avenue. So that is a piece of information that apparently folks who are doing applying for jobs really needed to have a residence address, and that is and that's now in place. In terms of other things, the board continues on the full variety of items before us. The budget is in process of being developed, heading toward the introduction in May. It looks like we will have a budget gap of about $8 million, and that a variety of reasons for that. But we will be having a discussion of that at the next budget update, and a more general discussion on homelessness and the expansion. It was going to occur in March, but I think it's now scheduled for April, probably the first meeting in April, but we'll keep you updated on that. And with that, that's all I have on my list to report. I'm certainly happy to take your questions, and once we do that, I'm going to beg your pardon and excuse myself, as a variety of other things are on the schedule here. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Supervisor Gibson. Is there any questions for him from the council?
I have a question.
Okay.
Good evening, Supervisor Gibson. You mentioned the shortfall in the budget, and I am curious about that. I know that road repair, I was told, has a $4 million deficit in maintaining the roads. And can you explain a little bit about why we have such a big deficit? Is it COVID related, or is it just?
Yeah,
what?
It's probably, we'll dig into the details, but actually the road budget, it depends on what standard you are seeking in terms of monies going into roads. I can tell you that $5 million of the $8 million is of that deficit comes from actions that the board majority took on the spur of the moment in one day of our budget hearings last June, where on Supervisor Arnold's motion, they decided, after the budget had been published, thoroughly analyzed, discussed, right at the end, the board majority voted to put $3 more million into the road budget, $1 million into the management of solid waste that comes from the dissolution of the integrated waste management, and another $1 million into I think it was into the actions for water, the Sigma water sustainability efforts. That just blew a $5 million gap into the budget right there, and how we deal with that is unknown. The matter of the road budget is not in deficit, especially with that extra $3 million. The question is, how much money is the county willing to commit to the road, to the condition of our roads, as opposed to spending that money on other things? And this is again a motion of Supervisor Arnold, who's for years declared that the roughness of roads, particularly in the rural area, is a major problem, and that the board should be putting more money into it. We have what's called a maintenance of effort. My recollection last I heard was that we are required to continue to spend about $6 million in the road budget. The passage of SB1 has increased that significantly. And again, off the top of my head, so please don't hold me to this, but our overall road maintenance budget is something like 11 or it's either, I think it's 11 or $12 million. I may be off by a little bit there. The issue there is what's called the pavement condition index. It's a measure of the general quality of a road. The board has set a priority or has set a target of keeping that at 65. It actually runs right around 60 or maybe a tad underneath, but that's an average of the condition of all roads in the county. If you look at the most heavily traveled roads, and particularly roads in urbanized areas, the pavement condition index is much greater than that. But on a vehicle miles travel weighted basis, we've got some roads in the rural areas that indeed are somewhat rougher. The road maintenance budget always goes after safety as a first priority. So if there's any condition that's unsafe, that's going to get fixed. I'm not quite sure where the thought of a $4 million deficit comes from, but our public works staff has indicated that if we are to bring the roads up to the desired PCI of 65, it will require more money, and it may be that $4 more million a year is what's required there. The question there is that the priority of the board? And I've argued for a long time that, I have not heard anybody say they're moving out of San Luis Obispo County because the roads are too rough. I have heard people complain about homelessness, about delays in getting mental health services, about our investments in a variety of other health and human services. And the money that's going, that the board majority put into the road budget was money that could have been used on those matters. So my own feeling is we're doing reasonably well on our roads. We have much bigger, much more serious problems we should be solving. We should be putting our money down. So I hope that sort of gives you the long-winded, as usual, answer to a straightforward question.
That was, yes, thank you. Very helpful. And to answer your question about the 4 million, it's because I was asking Public Works to widen a road so we would have a safe routes to school for the elementary school at Baywood Elementary. And I was told that there was a $4 million deficit and that there could not be any betterment of roads here in Los Osos for that reason. So that was the number.
Yeah, well, no, but let's, yeah. So that's an issue. We get asked about this fairly regularly. Folks, there are roads in Cambria that are dirt right now, whereas adjacent roads are paved. And we have constituents up there asking, well, why can't the county just come in and pave the road? And the root reason is, in fact, Proposition 13, which keeps our property taxes relatively low. It certainly keeps the yearly increase of them into a relatively small amount, but it also significantly limits the amount of revenue that local government can raise. Before Prop 13, the local government would look at what it wanted to do, and it would set tax rates in order to raise the revenue adequate to do that. Prop 13 turned that on its head and said, here's the amount of money you have, now figure out what you can do with it. So once Prop 13 came in, we're not able to go out and simply make roads better very often without extreme infusions from outside. So that's just a tough reality of local government in the modern age. So there are ways of doing it. If property owners fronting a road want to assess themselves, we have cooperative road improvement program. That's actually fairly active in Cambria. But again, the $4 million, I'm not sure exactly what Public Works was quoting you, but that deficit may be indeed the deficit between the PCI, the Public Pavement Condition Index, or PCI, staying where it is or being improved. So,
thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Okay, I don't see any other hands from the council.
I just had a question, just an update on Los Osos being in limbo with the supervisor, if there's any updates on what's happening
Well,
there. Still gonna be in limbo?
As you know, the maps have been redrawn. And Los Osos officially, as of today, is in the 5th district.
Really?
I don't know, have you tried to call the 5th district supervisor? I mean, it's a bit of a mess. And as you also know, the map is in court. And it seems to me that that eventually the court's gonna rule to make some correction. It's not clear when that's gonna happen. It's not clear exactly what the remedy of that is if and when it does happen. In the meantime, you are welcome to call our office for issues pertaining to Los Osos. You're also welcome to call the 5th district supervisor if you'd like. So your choice. As you know, I spent essentially the entirety of my public service, elected public service career here, and I'm not going to walk away from you. At the same time, I also inherited 29,000 people in the city of Atascadero, and 2,500 in the community of San Miguel, and I don't know how many that live by Lake Nacimiento. So we're trying to figure it out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go with Sue, since she's a council member.
Thank you. Bruce, since we are talking about this now, thank you for everything that you have done for us. It's just amazing. And I don't want to face this because I want to assume you will continue to be our supervisor. Or I guess now you have to come back to be our supervisor because you're not now. But really, you meant the world to us, and we can't thank you enough.
Thank you for those kind words, Sue. You know, I tell people from the bottom of my heart, this is the best job I've ever had, and I love doing it. And we've been through a lot, especially in Los Osos. So, you know, that we're onward into the future. We'll figure it out. I get up every day optimistic that, you know, we can make some good stuff happen. So we'll keep working on it.
Okay, Lindy, you are up next.
Okay, yes, and I thank you too, Bruce. I wanted to say one thing about the budget. The potholes may just slow traffic down a little bit. I think we might be a safer community, so look at the bright side.
That's a theory I have espoused from time to time, but it doesn't gain a lot of traction in certain quarters. So
I agree, but I wanted to talk. I know that this is all ongoing and there's been no public information available, but is there a possibility that the Animal Services building that's right next door to Kansas could be turned over for use for CAPSLO and the counseling services, laundry, and assorted other needs, especially the homeless that don't have vehicles? Is that, I mean, I don't know if it's a crystal ball that I'm asking you to explain, but is there any chance that this is going to become a permanent setup for housing people that are on our streets currently?
Well, the short answer is I think there's always a chance. It's going to be an unused county resource at some point, and we need to deploy the resources we have to deal with the issues that we confront. And homelessness, to me, is the single biggest human one that we have in front of us right now. So the question of how best to deploy that resource is open, and you know, but we've also got to do a lot of assessment on what our needs are and what our resources are, and come up with a plan. And our new management that's leading the operational side of homelessness, I think, has a real strong handle on an approach to figuring that out. So I'd say stay tuned. We obviously understand the needs that need to be addressed, And, you know, we're not gonna jettison resources that might help meeting those needs. So, so again, it's quite possible, but we don't have a specific plan for that to happen just yet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, Supervisor Gibson, you're free to go. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, all. Have a good evening. Thanks.
Good night, Bruce.
Thank you.
All right, CSD report. I'm not quite sure who is here for the CSD report. If you could raise your hand.
I don't see anybody from the
I don't
CSD.
either. I don't see names that are familiar with that. All right, let's go on. And if we have someone pop up, we'll come back to it. Chamber of Commerce report, Lynette.
Okay, this will be a short one. The chamber voted to allow Locac to hold their election on May 7th from 9 to 3 at the chamber parking lot. And yes, the bathroom will be available for people working from Locac.
I volunteered to be the person to open the building.
Thank you, Tim.
Be there at 9 o'clock. I don't know what time people will get started, but
Yeah, we will need what time you need for setup and that kind of thing,
Okay.
but you know, that's a little further down the road. So the awards for Citizen, Business, and Volunteer of the Year have not been given at an installation dinner this year for obvious reasons. And the how that will be done will be announced later. And finally, just today, there's going to be a chamber event, a mixer in May, and I'll have the details for you closer to that date. And that's my report.
Thank you, Lynette. Any questions from the council? Any questions from the community? Lindy. Okay, you have been asked to unmute.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Lynette. And then the map, the really great simple map for Los Osos, just the streets and very, very simple and easy to see areas. There are full-size printouts, 11 by 17s. I might suggest that if you just want to get hold of a simple map to pull up when you need to do a quick search, it's very, very helpful. And I just thank the chamber and especially Lynette for getting that in and published separately too. So thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Lynette for the chamber? No? All right, thank you so much, Lynette, appreciate it. Next is public comment for items not on the agenda, and you'll have 3 minutes. Anyone in the community who has something that they need to bring forth to the council? I see one hand up, Lindy.
Boy, I'm chatty tonight. I wanted to say, I am very frustrated with code enforcement activities in Los Osos. There are several activities that are going on that have no permits and are going forward. They've been turned in, and you know, we'll continue going after the individual projects, but there's really something that's not working with the code enforcement questions about development that isn't permitted and that is going forward. So I just wanted to throw that out and say, could sure use some help with other people that see things to go in. It's also supposed to be anonymous. And in the past, I was completely harassed by someone that I had a code enforcement question on with the county. And so I was personally harassed. So if you do a code enforcement, make sure you demand anonymity, because it's not pretty. It's not fun to, you know, try to find out why something is being done. And when you have an aggressive property owner. Anyway, and then, you know, I think we need to continue pulling together our assessment of the best that we know about our basin. I see the purveyors going a little soft now with new development and issuing will serves. And I wish everybody could attend the basin management meetings and speak up a little bit, because it's pretty apparent that we don't have a sustainable supply at this point, because we have not stopped seawater intrusion. We have not stopped we have not stopped the nitrate pollution. And this is our basin, and it's pretty much being managed by one group of people making those decisions. But I think everybody needs to be real clear about whether we have a sustainable basin now or we don't. The county will tell us that it's completely, doing great. And, once the projects are put in, we'll just be, happy as can be with lots of water. But I think we all are. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Lindy. Okay, anyone else from the public? 3 minutes. All right, I don't see any hands up. So let's move to approve the minutes from the meeting on January 27th. Could I get a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay, Jim made the motion, and Deborah and Lynette
I'm
second.
second.
Jeanette, all in favor, raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5. I have Larry, Jim, Deborah, Sandra, Trish, Sue, Lynette. I think that's all that's here tonight. Anyone opposed? Show your face or raise your hand. Okay, all approved, unanimous. Let's go down to our committee reports. Deborah, for the treasure report, please.
Yes, hi. Okay, we made 19 cents of interest last month. So my previous report, we had $2,200.19. We now have $2,200.38. We haven't had any expenses.
Good job, Deborah.
No, it's amazing. 19 cents. I'm loving it. That's my report.
All right, let's go to committee reports. Larry, land use.
We had a couple of projects that we talked about, and they'll be coming up on the agenda, and I'll talk about them at that time.
Thank you. Traffic and circulation, Jan is not here tonight, but she did say that she had nothing new to report at this time. Trees and landscaping for Yael, she is not here tonight, so I'm not sure if there's any news there. I'll try to catch up with her. Outreach, Sandra.
Hi, yes. So for outreach, the outreach committee has been meeting, and we're excited about the May 1st event. We're actually planning ahead, which is nice. We feel like we have a little room to just make it successful and get everything in place. So there's about, I think, 14 different groups that are going to be participating, all that have some stake in Los Osos, that serve the residents of Los Osos in some way, both nonprofit, governmental, who else? That mostly covers it, but the Basin Management Committee will be there, Bike Slow, Public Health, the CSD, Los Osos Cares, South Bay Women's Network, Supervisor Gibson, maybe the IWMA, we're still reaching out to them. I also want to reach out, I have to talk to the committee still, but the the Filipino Association. So it's just really going to be a town hall of sorts, and there's going to be opportunities for organizations to present, and hopefully each of the committees at Locac, land use, trees and landscape, active transportation, at the tables will have some kind of interactive opportunity for community members to participate in, whether it's a survey or just something, because the whole idea of this event is to connect, to listen, and to follow up, to get more people involved so they know what Locac does, why we're important, why we're there, what each committee does, how they can be involved, and that we're an advisory body and we represent the community. So that's the goal of the event, and we just we're gonna work with Dawn, who's a local graphic designer, to do some of the outreach materials for us. And so I think we need to get, I wanted to, Deborah can share the numbers on the budget for that, but we want to get that approved. And she's going to do a flyer. She's going to help with ads and just have some visual representation for the event that's cohesive. And that'll really help get the word out, as well as represent the different organizations that are going to be participating in the event. Deborah, do you want to share those numbers?
You know what? I didn't bring that breakdown because I think there's still, it's not complete, but it's around $600, I think. We have the rental of the Red Barn, and then we have, it's about $250 worth of material costs that we're getting some graphics done through Dawn. We want to redo the district map, and we don't know exactly what that cost is going to be, right? Because the current district map for Los Osos, it's kind of blurry. People are having trouble figuring out what district they might be in. So that, and I'm also wondering about election material. Are we going to have anything? Does the election committee want to have something there where people can sign up? I mean, the election's on the 7th, but still, you know, if you wanted to sign up to possibly be, or is there a way for them to vote or proxy or whatever?
Well, I think that's something that Jan is not here, and she's the chair of that. So we'll have to wait for Jan, and we can get those questions answered by the next meeting, and then we'll have a budget. The election group is going to utilize the map that is going to be done, so they can be used for both the election committee and for outreach and for everything that comes from here on out. So,
and by that point we'll have candidates. Another I neglected to mention is another purpose of the event is so that those candidates that will be voted on in May will be able to be at the event and meet the community.
Well, it would be nice to at least have a statement from each.
And we are working on that.
And they usually have to submit that's part of their process of becoming a candidate of their application.
They do, and I have one already. So
wonderful.
Already. Okay. Thank you, Sandra, very much. Ad hoc water committee, Deborah.
Okay. Yeah. Not really a lot to report this time. I try to go to every single basin management committee meeting. They usually meet monthly. The only thing that was really noteworthy in this last month's meeting was that Blaine Reilly, who is the newly hired water district person, who is in charge of sustainability, is going to be the alternate for Supervisor Gibson, representing the county. So, you know, obviously the alternate is the person who fills in. So that was the only thing that came up in the meeting. I would like to say that James and I try very, very hard to present accurate information to the council. On my part, I go to the meetings, and I also try to tap into what's happening regionally, Salud Carbajal, or Senator Laird, or whoever that represents this area, to find out what they're doing. And James works at the regional water board, so he's very tapped in and has all the technical know-how. So I would really like for the council, if you have water questions or want to understand something better, let us know. If I can't answer it, I'll go find the answer for you. Because sometimes you're left just reading news articles, and it's not always the best information. It can be good information, but let's go right to the source. Obviously, James is I'm sorry he's not here tonight, but he's a tremendous resource, and he's so very good at explaining this stuff. So Just know that we're here for you. That's our purpose. If we're not doing our job, then there's really no reason for us to, be a committee if you don't think that we're fulfilling our job.
Thank you very much. Well, since does anyone have any questions for Deborah? Anyone from the council or the community? Nope. Okay, then let's move on to active transportation, Deborah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, we are having the most fun. I'm telling you, this committee is, we are busy identifying projects within Los Osos for active transportation. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to rank these possible projects in order of short-term goals and long-term goals. In all projects, it's always about the funding, right? So if we can prioritize what's our most important priority, then we can focus our attention on going out and trying to get funding for that project. So I'm just going to give you a sampling of what we've been talking about. Obviously, I've mentioned before the safe routes to school for Baywood Elementary. That remains a pretty high priority, even though we haven't gotten much flexibility on that. A multi-use trail on Los Osos Valley Road from Doris to Palisades. So Doris is where the Monarch Grove Elementary School is. And then from there all the way to Palisades, where you have the community center, you have the library, the future dog park. There's no place to walk there, or really even ride your bike. So we're going to really prioritize that stretch. It's not going to be easy, but that's okay. We're committed. And then a longer term goal is what we're calling the core loop. And I'm just going to show you, Trish, if you let me share screen.
It is open for you to share.
Oh, it says it's disabled. Try it again. I'm just going to show you a conceptual drawing of what one of the committee members came up with for this core loop concept. It's one of the things that we're going to be showing at the outreach. Oh, here we go. Great. Let me get on here and share this with you. I think you'll get jazzed about it. So the concept is to connect Baywood to this more commercial district. And this is what it kind of looks like here. So the proposed active transportation core loop would provide readily accessible means for bicycle and pedestrian commuting to schools, commercial centers, and coastal access. Plus, it would serve general recreation use. It would serve several Los Osos neighborhoods. And it is actually a combination of multi-use trails, which would be something new, and existing roads and infrastructure. So this is conceptual, but we get excited about this, And I think when you look at this, you could get excited too, because you could say, yeah, I could make sense of that, and what a great benefit that would be to our community. So that's what we're up to. And we're planning to have a big presence at the outreach. We're going to do a survey. It's critically important for us to have community support. And without community support, we can't get money. We can't get our grant applications looked at. So we're going to be doing a big push with surveys and some of these, like what I just showed you, to get people interested in supporting these type of projects so we can be successful. If any of you are interested in dropping into a committee meeting or becoming a part of this committee, just let me know.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the council who has any questions? Okay, there was a hand up from a Tom Cross. Do you still want to talk?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that I wanted to be a part of that any way I can.
Great. Let me send you my contact information, Tom. I will chat. I'll put it in the chat. How's that?
I don't know. I don't know if you can, if it's enabled.
No,
but
maybe I can't.
Tom, if you want to just give your email to the chat, it'll come to me and I can get it to Deborah.
Perfect. Happy to have you, Tom. That'd be great.
And Deborah, is there a regular monthly meeting? Are you like the third day of a month or something?
You know, we haven't set a regular time of the month. We set the next month's meeting at the meeting we're in so that we make sure everybody's accommodated as much as possible. So I'll look up really quick. I can tell you what the next date will be because I have to look in my calendar. It will be March 17th. It's on Zoom at 6 p.m.
St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, St. Patrick's Day. We'll be wearing green.
Okay, good. This Kilpatrick needs you to wear green at least. Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you very much, Deborah. Let's go to the regular agenda items. Larry, can you discuss the first one, please?
Yeah, this is a vacation rental request, and we've asked the applicants to put it on hold until the Coastal Commission made a decision, and the Coastal Commission made their decision, so we found nothing wrong with the application. There was a difference, a requirement on the distance between vacation rentals. They were a little bit short, but it is no longer an issue. So that's why we didn't make a full decision on it, and we brought it to Locac here. And again, our recommendation is to approve this vacation rental as it meets all the requirements.
Okay. Are there any questions from the council then? If not, let's do a motion.
I did.
Okay. And what is your motion?
Yeah.
Motion is to approve the applicant.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Me.
Lynette. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Passed unanimously. The next one, we are going to table this because we have actually heard 4 different responses from 4 different people in the planning department on what a definition of a homestay is. And the definitions from the 4 individuals in the planning department have been very different. Everything from, they've just been very different. So what we have asked the planning department to do is to give us a black and white definition of what a homestay truly is. And as soon as we get that definition, they can share that with the applicant, they can share that with us, and then we will move forward. All right. Then let's move on to C. Larry, can you work us through that one?
Okay. This is a request we came up with in the land use for Locac. We had some folks come to our land use meeting requesting to acquire some abandoned land, in their words, which is, Los Osos, all our dirt roads and pathways and all this. And so we were against, the county giving away private public land to private homeowners that then landscape it and fence it off and call it theirs. So we were wanting Locac to come up with a letter to the county stating this, and it goes right along with Deborah Howe and her committee on advanced or active transportation. We've got paths and roads around Los Osos that, are dirt roads and have weeds growing over them or native plants growing on them. And we don't want the county giving them those away. We want bike paths. We want walking paths. And the county should not be giving up private land to public interest. And so we came up with this letter that was included in the agenda. If y'all have read it or looked at it, and that's kind of like the letter we'd like to send to the county, requesting, to keep our public land public and don't give it away to private citizens just because they call it abandoned and they say it's weeds growing on it, which might be, native species and stuff. So that was my request here, or land use request.
Thank you, Larry. Are there any questions about this from the council members? Deborah.
Yes, I agree with this letter. I have a couple of questions. Who was it that reached out to you?
It was a
property owner.
Homeowner.
But it says that the SLO County Planning Department reached out to Locac. Who was that person?
What was it Carrie, Larry? Carrie, was it you? Oh, she's gone now. Oh, no,
Well,
she's still there.
Whoever reached out, instead of to whom it may concern, let's make sure we put that person's name there. Or
Okay.
even the person higher on the food chain. Let's go to the next person up to give it even more emphasis. And when you say it, the county cedes the land over, do you mean they just give it? Or do the people pay for it? Or there's no money exchanged?
Many years ago, and I'm sure Carrie could fill this in better. They actually just gave it.
Okay.
No tax increase, no nothing, and this hasn't happened for a long time. I think the county has stopped doing that, but again, I'd like to remind them.
Yes, well, and when I do a lot of walking because of the active transportation, looking for possibilities for trails. And these are exactly the kind of spots where I say, a trail could go here. And especially on Doris, because that's where Monarch Grove Elementary School is.
And this pathway that they're talking about, I walked it with my dog. So it starts at Doris and it goes all the way over past Pine. And there are school children every morning walking on it to get to school. And then after that, there is, dog walkers like myself. And then it is truly being used, and it's being used for school kids right now. So, Sue, council member, would you like to?
I guess it kind of got answered. Yeah. I don't remember. Maybe Carrie can tell us it was her, but we got a letter from the county. They had been approached, and we're talking to some people who have completely now taken that 20 feet. They haven't fenced it off yet, but they've done work. They've cleared it. It's got bark chips and a big dirt mover machine on it. And so there was no application. There was nothing we had to look at, and review. It was just the county wanted to know how we felt about this ceding of land. And I see Carrie has her hand up. So
Carrie has her hand up. Carrie, you're up.
Okay, thank you. This did not come from the county planning department, or it didn't come from me. So I'm not sure. I think it came up a while back, and I was wondering maybe Public Works submitted something, because it sounds like a road abandonment which generally goes through Public Works. But planning does have a part because we have to find the road abandonment. We have to determine whether or not it conforms to our general plan. But we don't have an application in for a general plan conformity report, which is what we would be looking at for a road abandonment.
And may I ask where the letter came from?
You know, I'd have, Larry, I don't remember. I'd have to look it up.
I got a letter from the applicant, from the person that owns the land.
But we also got a request from someone from the county that wanted our opinion. Do you remember that? I mean, that's why we were talking about this.
I'll have to dig through my records. Right offhand, I don't remember that letter. I remember this did come up a year or two ago, and then they backed off on it. And it said when they came to the land use meeting that they're reinterested in it. You know, and now we find out they're already have done it, that they've destroyed natural habitat and without any permits or anything else. That's why I think it's gone to code enforcement.
And Corey, what we can do is send you the address and all of the materials that came to land use, and we can forward that to you so that you can take a look at it. Would that be all right?
Yeah, if you want to send me everything you have, let me do some digging. I'm not familiar with this, just kind of looking at that letter I see in the agenda. It doesn't say who is from or where is from. I do have the address. I see the address is 1990 Doris. But if you have any emails or any correspondence, please forward it to me and I can definitely look into it.
I will do that.
Thank you, Corey.
Well, and I'm I'm seeing like three different issues here, right? One is, well, the issue is it roads, it's a dirt road, so that's Public Works, but then it's also county, so that goes to county, and then that's code enforcement, and then there's code enforcement that's not following through, and probably the complaints that have been made about the land being taken over. And it just breeds like this confusion that we are continually dealing with, and like, who do we go to and who's following up on this? And so Corey, it's just great to hear that you're going to look into it. And I guess I'm also wondering if the applicant came to us, does that mean the applicant already put in a request for a permit, and then usually the county tells them to then go back to Locac for approval? So if the applicant came to us, there must have been some initiative for them to come. And I'm wondering where that came from. And then also, when I support the letter, I think it's crazy that, land would just be given away without a community interest opportunity first, right? To benefit the community versus the private. So.
Yeah, just so you know, for an example, the property right behind this property had acquired the same space many years ago. I can't even say how many, but they were able to do that, and the county actually gave it to them. And so this applicant here, who didn't have any application yet, they just wanted to come to land use to find out what the atmosphere was like, use the property behind them as an example. And that's why I wanted to make a clear statement to the powers that be, planning and Public Works, not to allow this to happen.
Well, there's got to be some legal precedent as well that we could include in the letter that this, I guess I don't know enough to know that if the county does secede land over, what kind of legalities are associated with that from a community perspective, or from a private to a public.
I'll send everything I have over to Corey, and he might be able to come up with some answers.
Yeah, it'd be very helpful if there was a contact person that I can reach out to, a permit number, something that, where
no, there's no permits. Nothing had been done. This was just private people wanting to come to land use and hear what the discussion would be about it.
Yeah, so, I mean, if it was it wouldn't be something that the county would direct anyone to come to Locac if there was no application. So what I mean by permit number would be, let's say someone's applying for something. It doesn't mean that a permit is issued. There's usually a permit number as a file number for us to process the application. And, you know, if with that file number, that permit number, I can look into you know, what was proposed.
Yeah, I don't think it ever got that far.
I'd like to interject here. I found the correspondence that we had, and it came from the property owners. They said, we have been in contact with the county. They directed us to seek a recommendation from Locac in favor of allowing the transfer of the land. And they didn't name anybody or any department. And I actually did write to Carrie, and she told me that you guys haven't heard anything about it. Did it come from the county? And I have another note from them basically saying that we heard from the County of San Luis Obispo staff regarding the vacant property. That's as far as we have. We have no numbers, no permits, no nothing, just the owners, and they've been communicating with San Luis Obispo staff. So we have no idea where it's from. Apparently.
Yeah, so if there's no application and there's no permit,
nothing's happening.
Well, they've completely, you know, flattened the land. I mean, they've completely taken all the vegetation off the area they plan to take over. They've put bark chips. They've got a, you know, one of those front loader. I don't know, boys know the names of these kind of things, but they've been doing work there, and they're just going.
This is where county code enforcement needs to come in and tell them to take everything off and replant it.
Yeah, so let's go with sending that information over to me. And
okay.
Then, let me do some digging and I can report back.
Thank you.
We'll send you everything that we have.
Is there any other questions from council before we go to community?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
I think we should hold off on this until we get more concrete information. We might make a stronger case if we actually knew what the county had done in the past, why, and why we don't want it. I just think this is a good first start, but I think we're going to be sending a bunch of stuff to Corey, and we will get more information back.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see nothing wrong with us if we all feel strongly that we don't want them giving away land. I think we should start as soon as possible and at least tell them that if we want to then have it, you know, looked into and figure other things out, I think that we can go farther. But I think a first step would be to contact them, because apparently this is kind of running rampant and no one's doing anything. So I think we should. I don't see any problem with us just making a statement to them.
Well, we've only seen one thing, and why would we write a second letter if we find out more information? I mean, this has come to us, well, there was another one a long time ago, but it isn't like vacation rentals that are, you know, piling on.
Well, I mean, I see it happen all over Los Osos, right? Parts are county parts are being taken over. So
that's county code enforcement. That's where it needs to go. Nobody did this because they were given permission. They just did it. So it's like a code enforcement thing.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we write a letter to start, just saying, you know, whether it's to Public Works, to county planning, to all the powers that be, that before any land is seceded or given to any public land is given to private owners, there's, I don't know what the wording is, but there's a community interest, or it's brought back to the community to see if that land can be used for community benefit first before it's.
If that's a motion, I'll second it, Sandra. Am I on?
Oh, yeah, Lindy's raising her hand.
I'm sorry.
Yes, you're on, Jim. You seconded.
Okay.
You're second.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that I agree with Sandra in the sense that we don't have to make it about this project on Doris, we can just make it about
Right.
all of our public
All of
lands,
our-
abandoned roads, whatever, and that we may have a purpose for those areas, and they're not to be handed off.
Well, I wish you guys would read the letter because it's
So the
not
letter's
about,
good.
it's
The letter's
not
good. I don't
about,
have a problem with the letter. I would just take out the part about that specific project
I
until
don't
we
think
find
there's
out more about
anything,
it.
we
Yeah,
just made a
there-
reference to it.
Yeah,
Yes.
you talk
Yes,
about it
right.
right at the
Okay.
beginning. Other than that, just take that piece out and use the rest of it, because the rest of it's quite nice.
Got it. Take out the.
If,
Yes,
if there's
Ken,
if there's an approval on this, we'll rewrite the letter, pass it around to all the board members. And if
so
they
can we
agree
get
with
a
it,
vote?
then we can send it in. What was that, Trish?
Yeah.
We have a second, so I wanted to go ahead and do the vote.
Do we want to hear from Lindy first?
Community.
Did we want to
Well-
hear from Lindy first, or
Sure.
I don't know.
I was just trying to
Process
get
goes.
the council part done. Lindy?
Okay. Yeah, no, I went and walked the property again today, and I do see that they've taken some steps to remove mostly weeds. There wasn't anything too fancy growing there. First, I think we need to know what the policy is. I brought that up at land use, and and Corey can probably give a presentation. As Lynette said, it has happened in the past, and the county or somebody has a policy, and applicants can come in and ask for that land. So if we don't like it, I agree. I don't want to necessarily give it away. I was appalled the first time years ago when I saw it being given away. But we also have to take into consideration, there are 2 other properties on that little trail route, that road abandonment proposal, that are already all the way out. I mean, they've got big fences. The trail gets really narrow with an oak grove if you walked it,
I've walked it a few
Trish,
times.
you saw that
Yeah.
long section. So
But
it's
that
already,
doesn't mean we give away more land.
no, but I think that we need to centralize what our, and I'd say in general, it would go to everybody. These people were told that they should come get our blessing about it. And so obviously we're not blessing it. But I think that Corey and somebody from the county needs to tell us what that process is, because those other 2 properties have already gotten away with it. That'll never be a road again. So anyway, I think maybe getting the information before we throw out a general letter, the more informed we are, the better the letter's gonna cover all the future issues that are gonna come up with other people that might do it. I just think it's a weird thing, but it is being done. And so anyway,
Okay.
I just wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lindy.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Can we have a vote, please? All in favor of sending the letter without the address?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I take it then Lynette is no.
I'm a no. I want to see more detail on this. I feel like we can't really write 2 letters. So I would like, since nothing's going to happen between now and Corey coming back to us with information, I would rather write the letter after the next meeting.
Got it. Okay, thanks, Lynette.
All
And just to
right,
clarify, Larry, you'll make some edits, because I'll make some edits too, and then you'll send it through email, and then we'll agree to send it off after that.
Yeah, I'll keep everybody in
And
the
it's
loop
quite,
on that.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Larry.
Go ahead.
It's quite possible that Corey will be back with some information for us before we get through our little process. So we might be able to have the perfect letter. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very
Yeah.
mysterious, and I'm anxious and curious to know, what are the rules on this thing?
I just want to add one thing, that in general, things having to do with the road and abandonments and things of that nature is really what public works. So most likely, after you send the information over to me, I'll look into it, but it'll probably lead to me talking to public works, and I can definitely either relay your message or get some sort of response from them if it's for an application or something.
Okay,
Great.
thank you very much,
Thank you, Corey.
Okay. Going to our business items, elections. We have everything on the website. Lynette was amazing and got it all up for us. So I have received one full one person has submitted all of their paperwork, which is great. I don't think there's anything else to say about elections. I think it's moving forward. Jan's not here to talk about it.
Which
the other-
district, Trish? Which
Pardon?
district? Which district is the applicant from?
That's what I have to find out. She gave me her address, but I have not. I need my new map so I can figure it out.
I have one question. We did post all these on the website. Are we going to wait until we collect them all? There was a cutoff date. Are we going to wait until we have them all and then post them so they're posted all at the same time?
I would like to post them all at the same time.
Thank you.
So that is fair for everyone. And we have till March 12th. So we have a little bit of time there. Okay, so we were going to talk about election costs, outreach costs, but we're not quite there yet. So we'll bring that back to y'all next month. So we'll talk about it there. Redesigning a Locac district map we already talked about. That's going to be done and it's going to be used for both outreach and the elections, and we'll put it on our website so that it's much clearer to read. And if anyone here in the council needs a copy of it, just let us know and we can print one because it's going to be print accessible. The last thing we have on the agenda to discuss is the possibility of blending traffic and circulation committee under active transportation committee or to keep them separate. Just wanted to have a discussion with the group. Any thoughts?
Jan is not here.
I know.
It's Jan's committee. I guess that's touchy.
And I think she's not running
She's
again.
not going to be running for
So
next year anyway. So she's
not?
going to be, no.
That helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was,
Why we should do it.
and just to clarify, it's not really blending the two, but it's traffic and circulation and the active transportation committee, right? Is what we talked about in the like both were in the title.
Yes, we would keep both within the title. But we also have to see if Deborah would be willing to take those both on. So, I mean, it's a lot to ask.
Yeah, well, it's a lot to ask because I'm taking a big bite on this active transportation. I'm 110% committed to moving those things forward, and they're not easy things to move forward. So I have a lot of balls in the air. I'm juggling a lot of balls on that committee. They belong together. You know what I mean? They do, and I'm happy to to work at traffic and circulation. Don't know really much about it, but I'm willing to learn. But I think I'm going to need a co-chair, and maybe somebody who has some experience, who's been on that committee. I know there are people who have been on the traffic and circulation committee, dedicated people in the community who know a lot. And I would need to have someone like that working alongside me, because otherwise it's not going to be very doable for me, I don't think.
Okay, I agree.
Would a public member be a co-chair with you? Like,
I don't know. Is that allowed?
No, but it's something we could revisit in our
It's something that we
bylaws.
could revisit. Yeah.
Or maybe, not honestly, not everybody on the council is working on a committee. And if you're not working on a committee,
you need to be.
You need to
Or you
be,
should all be on the council.
you need to be on one of our fun committees.
So fun.
Well, we have fun. I'm
No,
just
I
saying.
know.
We actually really have fun. So, you know, traffic and circulation, it's important.
Mhm.
You know, it's important. So,
So let's table it until we can talk to Jan and see if we can talk to her about who are her public members who could possibly be a co-chair, and who could help out that way.
well,
I
and
think that's a
Lynette,
good idea.
Lynette, you've been on the traffic and circulation
I
committee.
have, but I just can't take one more thing.
No, I understand.
Just can't.
Trust me, I understand.
I just for the record, I'm for blending the two. I think they actually do go hand in hand. I've been to some of their meetings. Usually it doesn't come up much unless there's some people who issue with speeding, or the bridge project that's coming up on South Bay Boulevard. It's not a full-time and not a very often meeting. It is important, and there are, the bike group always shows up there because they want bike paths and stuff. And if I would be willing to help a bit on that, because I won't be chair of land use.
Okay, great, Larry. That'd be great. Because in my mind, one of the things that will make us successful in active transportation is if we think about separating cars and people who are walking or riding their bikes, so that, make the cars go around, make the cars do a detour. That's what they do in Europe. Cars have to park away, and you get to get up close if you're on a bike or walking. And so this creates an atmosphere of, less pollution, less cars on the road, more activity, physical activity and health for our community. And that's the whole point. So they do go hand in hand, and thinking of, it's like, let's make a circulation for cars. We have that. Well, now where's our circulation for pedestrians and cyclists?
I think this is great community committee work, not the work of the board. I really like the idea of waiting till Jan's on board so we can kind of input.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Lindy, I see that you have your hand up. Was there any final word?
Yeah, just two things. I've been on traffic and circulation for years, so we have looked at a lot of bicycle paths. We got the parking taken off of LOVR, so there's a bike trail. So they do kind of go hand in hand, and I think Jan would agree. And the job is not as heavy as some of the other things, because we basically work with the county's transportation person. And so I think with some assistance from the community and stuff, it would be a good merger, since they kind of are the same. So, and my other point I wanted to bring up is I'm the one that originally did that map for the districts with crayons. And it's Lynette's map. So
it's been amazing, Lindy. Thank you.
Better than nothing. It's probably 15 years old, but anyway, I was going to suggest that maybe if Lynette if that map is available to be used, somebody with computer skills could just enhance that map. So, because it is really good. You guys need to go pick up a couple copies at the chamber.
Yes,
So.
and they belong to Dawn, who we're contracting with. That is her map. The chamber does not own it. And we're contracting with her to do a map. So this might work out really well.
It's going to work out great.
Okay, great. Just wanted to say that. So
thank you. Anything else before we adjourn? All right. Thank you all very much. And we'll
Thank
see
you. Nice
next
job.
month. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.